Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon for our webinar on how to plan and build a research community. We will have Esther LaVielle presenting today, who is our VP of Client Services at Survey Analytics, and we'll also have John Johnson, who is our Chief Growth Officer, and they're excited to present this information to you today. We will have a live Q&A following the presentation, so please direct any questions into the questions panel on GoToWebinar. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much, Gina, for the introduction. And hi, everyone, and welcome to January's webinar titled Research and Community Building with a Roadmap. My name is Esther LaVielle, and I am the VP of Client Services. I've been in the market research and software industry for about 8 years now, and thought it'd be nice to share a little bit of information about myself in these slides. And I also wanted to introduce to you the Product Director and also the Chief Growth Officer for Community Management Solutions, John Johnson. John, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Esther?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for our webinar. And we're really happy to have you here to present some new and exciting things that are brewing in the community and panel world. To the right, there's a picture of our kids. Mine is the dog, and that's John's adorable daughter. So on today's agenda, we will be discussing GOT panel, what is it and why you want your own, traits of a successful community, the cost-benefit analysis for community, getting started with your community, community health and badges, what are those? We'll also take a look at a craft beer community study that we recently ran in January, and also do a live demo of how to get started. And we'll also talk about community development experts. And these are people that can come in and help you get started with your very own online or mobile community. And as Gina said earlier, if we have a little bit of time left, we'll open up the floor for a Q&A session. So let's go ahead and get started with Got Community. It's kind of a play on Got Milk, but it's kind of an idea to think about. So do you have a community? And when adding any kind of new technology, there's a lot to consider. So for example, implementing a community management solution. Those things include, how do you want to manage and how much do you want to manage and do in-house by yourself? What is the look and feel you're going for, and how do you want to interact with your community members and in what frequency? Now, we're not talking about Community, the TV show. We're actually talking about Survey Analytics Community Management Tool, which will provide you with tools and services for creating and managing your own interactive community, whether it's online specifically or mobile or both. We're able to provide a tool and service that can meet your community members where you want to be with them. It will also allow you to target and segment specific community members and send surveys and other email-based marketing materials online or through mobile. You'll also be able to connect with them in a geofencing style. So if they are in a particular area and you want to trigger something out to them and solicit some feedback, you can do that as well. We also offer a fully customizable fit, in terms of look and feel for your desired online or mobile community. And you'll be able to manage your points and rewards that participating panelists or community members want to earn. Regardless if you want to do it manually or if you want to automate it through a company like Giftango, we've got those opportunities for you to plug into and make it easy for you to reward your community members. Here's a list of clients who are currently using the panel management solution. Even a firm DIY marketer says panels or communities are an ideal solution for companies whose customers are engaged in social media. in industries where your products are perceived as a commodity, panels or communities are a standout way to differentiate yourself among your competition. And if you can manage an online survey or a Facebook profile, you can manage a community. It's as easy as clicking through a few profile selections and sending an email, and that's it. Some traits of successful communities. We spoke to some of our biggest clients who are working with survey analytics community solutions, and they shared some key elements that make the community development solution work for them. The first one was to be able to control the process of validating the respondent in the use of common or custom community developed. That means in terms of being able to recruit or in terms of the list that they get, being able to self-validate that in-house ensures that the people that are joining their communities are exactly who they want to speak to and want to interact with. The second one is the ability to commission market research studies with homogeneous sample for and also target key panelists by results overall, by using gender, age, and consumer profiles and more. So they'll be able to go in and target specific people within the community if they need to get some immediate responses. For data segmentation, panel or community owners are able to slice the data on key questions and assorted research topics, and the same conclusion was derived for each of the questions asked. And so what that means is that, in addition to being able to target your entire community, if you need to do some follow-up with specific people that are giving you some very valuable information, or some specific filters or segments of people, for instance men versus women, and you want to do some additional information or interaction with them to solicit some more feedback, you can do that through this community a lot faster versus doing it outsourced. The other community trait is that the in-house results are completed 2 times faster, and it's 10 times cheaper. This is probably one of the biggest things in terms of cost savings. So not only are they able to control the entire study in-house, but they're also be able to get the results faster, and so that results in quicker decision making for their company. And in addition to that, they're saving a lot of money versus having to outsource it to a sample firm, or if they need to supplement it with in-house and sampling, they're still saving themselves quite a bit of money. The custom panels should not be used to replace nationwide sampling. There is a place in groups like research and development where organizations have a place to provide a cost-effective and quick turnaround time to address consumer perceptions and feedback. So again, kind of going back to what we said earlier, having a custom community of your own or a panel of your own doesn't always supplement everything in terms of being able to get the sample from outside. However, with that said, if you are able to do a mix of both, you will see, that there's going to be significant cost savings, and also you'll be able to supplement some of it, but you'll still be able to, save a lot of money in terms of being able to do any outreach outside of your existing list if you need to. And the last thing is having a tool like this helps organizations manage their risk and their decision making through the product development cycle. So, for example, if you're asking your loyal customers about some new products and services that you're considering, instead of asking people that you don't really know much about, you are, able to profile these people, and you're able to target them and be able to ask them. So you'll be able to see exactly, what these people are thinking. And out of all of the people that you're reaching out to, those are the ones that you really want to hear from because they are your loyal customers. So you are able to manage the risk of whether or not these people fully fit the right profiles you're targeting. So in terms of product development cycle, it's been very beneficial for a lot of our customers who are using both an online and a mobile community. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. And anytime you're adding an online community, you do want to um, consider a few questions and think about this. The first one is whether or not you're a trendsetter or a follower. It, Being a trendsetter in your industry or a follower in your industry, you know, will definitely make you consider whether or not, adding on a community, whether it's an online or mobile, um, it makes a huge difference in terms of your process and your decision making. So, for example, if you are, at Apple or J.C. Penney, or what if you're a mix of both, you got to see where adding a respondent community will be beneficial for you. The second question you want to look at is, what is the value of staying connected with customers in an exclusive community? Um, you know, what it really depends on what industry you're in, whether or not your company values research and development, or whether your industry is very voice of the customer dependent. If you are finding that in your industry it is driven a lot by customers, then you definitely want to consider taking on an online or a mobile community. And if a lot of your research is very voice of the customer dependent, or dependent on what the feedback you get, being able to harness it and also interact with it in a more intimate space, such as an online or mobile community, would be very beneficial for you as well. The last thing is, whether or not you have the commitment to set up and do the maintenance to build and maintain your community. My favorite thing to say to a lot of clients is, do you have the muscle to do you have the people that can put the muscle to the hustle? So, taking an idea of a community and turning it into a reality is two very different things, actually, and it does require a special person or a special team that can bring this to fruition, and also make sure that your board members or clients are on board with you the entire time. Some additional questions that you probably want to look at is, what questions are you not able to answer with your current research? For example, how many times has a particular profile participated in a research study and given you significant data to work with? Unless you're tracking this, there's really no way to know and engage these particular people for exclusive studies. Another question is, how much money are you already spending on third-party sample and outsourced research that you can use to create your own panel? This is a big area in research where costs can get out of control if you're not able to find the target respondent group from these sample firms. General population is easy to find, but to access something like a nano brewery that only brews 200 barrels of Hefeweizen is like a needle in a haystack, and it's very costly to find. So instead of trying to go out there and look for this, it might be beneficial to bring it in-house and build it on your own. Other questions to think about is, what is the potential benefit to bringing it all in-house? So how much money will your market research department save by allocating these costs of purchasing sample and outsourcing the research and using existing lists and partnering with your marketing department and PR department for some recruiting efforts? So there's a lot to be said in that area. So another one, again, another question, do you have a person or a team that is capable of rolling out and maintaining an online community? This step, again, is crucial in getting any new research plan off the ground. You need a champion or a team of champions to sell this dream, from the bottom to the top. And the last one is, will you be able to pitch this idea to your team, to your CEO, to your clients, or to your board members to back you up? Many people that we talk to along the way really do like the idea of a panel or a community, but they're really not sure how to pitch this. And this is why we're doing this presentation, so you can ask yourself these questions and look at the cost benefit before pitching a community solution. Just going in and saying that we need a community because everyone else is doing it isn't really going to cut it. And if you are going to manage to win them over with the just because, it's not going to be successful without a well thought out plan. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cost and benefit analysis for panel. Everyone knows that, you know, when you're taking on a community solution, it is going to cost you money and it's going to take some time to build and maintain. You will need to do a cost benefit analysis for your own company and decide whether you have the right resources in place to reach that optimum value and cost for your investment in your solution. So here's just a quick graph that you can see. You're looking at business benefits and productivity and effectiveness, and you're also looking at the cost benefit efficiency. And you know, if those two meet together, then you've got your optimum value and your cost. So let's take a look at sample versus panel costs, or community costs and benefits. So here are some interesting stats as well as some common issues that come up with purchasing sample. You know, the average market research firm or market research department will spend 50% of their annual research budget on sample or acquiring respondents and incentives. You know, and when you do deploy a survey online with about 300 or more completes, it requires a sample or recruitment and also an incentive budget, which I've seen is between $4,000 to $15,000 per project. So if you're running 10 projects a year, you can imagine how much money you're spending on just sample and incentives alone. A big issue that comes in is that, you know, market research companies or departments, you know, they need to 100% trust the respondents that are coming from these sampling firms and whether or not they truly do fit the exact profiles or specifications needed. I used to work in market research and so did John. We actually worked at the same place together, and a lot of times, you know, trying to find exactly the people that fit can be a very hard thing to do. So a lot of research gets stalled while trying to find the right people. So it's important to make sure that, you know, if you are working people, you've got to have that trust out there. Generally speaking, a lot of research firms or departments will stick to a trusted average of 3 panel providers, regardless if the respondents or project specs required are not 100%. So that's kind of scary in a little bit of ways, but you know, we understand, you know, market research really is a lot about relationships, and not only just relationships, you know, with the respondents that we're working with, but also with our, you know, providers, you know, or vendors that we work with. And if we have good relationships, generally we'll go back to the same people, regardless if they fit or not. And, you know, and sometimes, you know, it does take a little bit more effort to go outside of what you're comfortable with. And so you do run a risk if you are, you know, building a relationship, you still go back to the same people, you know, you might not find the right people that are you actually truly need to complete your study in a timely manner and with the right homogeneous group. And the last one, which is a really big one, is that a lot of times firms or departments don't always question panel companies about their recruitment strategy or how they maintain it. Sometimes, I mean, it's something that a lot of, you know, sample companies do talk about. They, you know, they have it on their site and everything, but in terms of going in and actually truly auditing it, you know, a lot of times market research companies don't really do that, and so you do run a risk in terms of, you know, not really knowing, you know, who these people are. So, you know, if you are doing that, you know, it can cause some serious issues with the sampling, whether or not these people truly fit the profiles you need. Whereas if you were to be able to control this by having your own community, you wouldn't be running these risks in terms of knowing these people truly fit or don't fit what you're looking for. So let's look at some cost benefit analysis for communities again. Every business needs a way to objectively determine the business value of any investment decision. And taking on a community, online community or mobile community, is a huge investment. So you have to look at it, from a bigger picture. So the first thing you'd want to do is view and analyze the value of all your investments. So whether it's where your headquarters are, who your employees are, what kind of technology you're trying to use in order to take you to the next level and give you that niche among your industry, what kind of projects you're running this year, and what is the process you're using to implement all these things. That's a very important thing to get started with. The second one is to prioritize any initiatives and allocate funding based on value for the department or company. So generally speaking, if your company is very heavy on research and development versus technology, sales, and staff lunches, being able to take on an online or mobile community is going to be a lot easier versus a company that is emphasizing on sales and staff lunches. So being able to present something in terms of return on investment might be a little bit harder. So you might need a different strategy to be able to approach this, to be able to implement something as big as an online community. The third thing is, whether or not you'll be able to make decisions sooner or if you'll be able to add revenue quicker. The one thing about online communities that a lot of people hit home, especially with the clients, is that they are able to run their projects faster, and as a result, they can make decisions quicker that contribute to their revenue bottom line. And at the end of the day, if you are using a market research tool of any kind, you want to make sure to be able to align that with some dollars that are coming through the door. If you're taking on tools and services or doing research projects that are not contributing to their bottom line, then really what is the point of using that? So taking on such as something like an online community or mobile panel or anything like that, I mean, as long as you can draw the conclusion that this is going to result in more sales, then being able to bring that on is going to be a lot easier. The fourth thing is to predict any impact or changes that, and also eliminate any unneeded costs. So anytime you add any new technology, does that equal any layoffs or new hires? So if you are having a community, does that mean that you're going to sever your relationship with the panel providers that you have? Not necessarily. Do you need to have people that come in to watch and help build your community full time? Do you want to do that in-house, or do you want to outsource that to a community expert? Those are things that you have to think about when you are bringing those in. Just buying the community tool but not doing anything, without thinking about the changes and the time commitment required, is going to be very huge. And if you do that without thinking about that and having people in place, then really, you're not going to see the cost benefit of adding this type of technology to your research strategy. The fifth thing is to increase utilization levels of current systems and resources. The big question here is, what do we already have that we can use more of more often? And that includes, as simple as looking at your survey provider and seeing, what else do they have? I mean, I've been doing this research project the same for the last 4 years. Maybe it's time to change it up. Let me go ahead and look at some new, tools, and you'll be surprised. I mean, a lot of the tools that you have, I would definitely say, are very underutilized. And so if you go in and you see that, oh, they've got mobile, they've got panel, they've got all these things, and it's going to be really easy to add to my current strategy, these are things that you want to consider and look into, and talk about that in your company. And the last thing is to balance the value with any possible risks. And You know, obviously, when you're taking on an online community, especially if you're brand new to it, it's something you've sold to your board members or to your clients, and everyone's kind of new at it. It is going to run a huge risk. But if you do the first 5 things here and you have things in place, the rewards could be great for you. And so it is very important to understand that there is a huge balance between taking this on, putting a process in place, following through as best as you can in order to seek the high reward. So let's go ahead and talk about getting started on communities. And I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to John Johnson, who's going to be able to talk to you more about the roadmap in terms of getting started. So John, I'm going to actually pass the screen over to you here.
Great, thank you, Esther. Very excellent, spot on, and robust information that you displayed there. I'm very excited to talk about getting started with communities.
And let me know if you got that.
I did, and if you just want to confirm that you can now see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, great. So everyone, let's talk about getting started on the community tool. And some of you may traditionally know this as panel, but well, you know, we're moving ahead now and we're calling it a community. Getting started with your community, the first thing you want to do is define and build profile information based on your research goals and needs. So if you're looking at a particular product, a particular makeup of whatever you're looking to research, you want to think about who you want in this community and who you want to deploy surveys based on, and also what you want to analyze alongside of your survey results. Secondly, why not tap into an existing database? You have it. You've already been communicating, interacting with these individuals, and if you have email addresses for them already, you have a great starting place for a community. Now you're going to want to set up points and rewards. And our community tool makes it very easy to do so, as well as track and implement. And so not only do you want to give your members points to keep them engaged and reward them for taking part, but you also want to give them a reward in form of an incentive. You also want to set up a recruitment and retention plan. Okay? What this means is not only do you want to have a plan for bringing in members, but you also want to have a plan for keeping your community members. So once they're there, how are you going to work with them? So this leads me right into 5. Set up an engagement plan and schedule. So maybe you're going to do surveys once a week. Maybe you're going to do 4 surveys a year, or 1 every quarter with 2 quick polls in between them. And this doesn't always have to be surveys in the form of a traditional email sent out and they click a link. These could be geo-triggered surveys. You could get information tracked via passive data collection. There's many opportunities in terms of really tying into your retention plan and setting up an engagement plan to do so. And lastly, you want to decide what kind of reports should be generated and of which profiles and segments. So remember, not only are you going to have the survey information coming in, but you're also going to have the demographic and segment data that you've set up for your community. And that's going to help you, again, for deployment and specifying exactly who you want your surveys to go out to, but also when you're analyzing your results. What's new in Panel? Great. Well, we've introduced Panel Health Dashboard. PhD is what I like to call it. What is it? Well, it's a side-by-side profiling info survey data. It's also going to offer you additional insights and possible changes in your response rates. It's going to offer measurement to determine if you need to change your panel, recruit, and/or management strategy. And this is great here because you may be recruiting from multiple different sources, and you can quickly jump into the health of your community and see, am I getting more people from my social media? Or am I getting more from the referral friend program? And quickly double down on which strategy is working best for you. As well as you can see if On the engagement side of it, from your management strategy and how many surveys you're sending out or quick polls, etc., if that's enough to keep your community engaged and keep your retention going. And lastly, the panel health dashboard is going to help you drill down to specific panelists and view the history of the surveys that they've taken. This is kind of overall view of the panel health dashboard, but let's get into the meat of it. Here we see in the chart on the left that we have lifetime attrition. And this chart is displaying community members who have dropped out of the community over a time period, but also by their status. We also have an activity chart, and this chart is displaying how active verified community members have been over a time period, weekly, monthly, or yearly, but also by source. So whether they came in via the web, a survey that you deployed and asked them if they wanted to join the community, or rather they joined via a mobile application or the mobile device in general, or the refer a friend program, or if you had a pre-existing list that you uploaded into the system. What is the activity of these users? And the also cool thing that you could do with this chart is you can create a sample filter. What is a sample filter? Well, all of that demographic data that you were collecting inside of the community tools, such as gender, demographics, income, all those type of things. You can create a segment based on that and see what is the activity of those respondents. And we can also look at participation rate quickly. We get a nice visual gauge, as you can see here, that we can see the total of verified community members who have received a survey invitation and view the first page of those surveys. This gives us an overview analysis of all of our deployed survey invitations, again, filtered by time, but also can be defined by sample filters, helping you to evaluate the participation rate of a defined community segment. And next, we have introduced badges, another great engagement tool in our arsenal. We talked about points and rewards. We also have discussions in the form of community questions and live discussions. But now we're introducing badges. And badges are going to give the community members can earn badges for activity and experiences in user roles. And badges are unlocked with the respect to the members' engagement in the community. We have Points Bandit. And this is when they have achieved 1,000 points or more. And you as the community manager can actually set what you want this stretch to be. We have Lifetime Achievement. This is a congratulations for those who have been within the community for a year. We have Community Leader. You have Community Leader, and we also have Profile Verified, which is they've answered all the demographic information. And then we have Wi-Fi. What is that? Well, if they've downloaded the Survey Swipe application and are ready to take surveys on the go, they will receive this badge. The Survey Swipe application is now going to allow users to take the ability of a unique user experience using a native app. You as the community manager also now get an additional set of tools. You can now do location-based surveys. You can now enable a diary feature and do an ongoing study. You also get the ability for activity monitor via the passive data collection in our life metrics feature. So let's look at a specific scenario here. We have Sierra Nevada, and they want to start their own panel to test new beer flavors entering the market. The first thing we're going to want to do is define and build a profile information based on a typical craft beer consumer. Secondly, we want to tap into an existing database. Why not? Sierra Nevada actually has a Sierra Nevada Beer Camp, which brewing with other craft brewing companies across the US. Thirdly, we want to recruit via any other mechanisms they currently have at their disposal. Social media, bottles, coasters, the tangibles, and also target geographic locations, etc. Now, we want to make sure we set up a deployment plan. So we're going to send beer surveys, we're going to send profiling surveys, and we're also going to do online or in-person discussions on new flavors, ideas, and more. And as we mentioned, having a points and reward strategy is great. So with Sierra Nevada, the iPhone bottle openers to all who sign up for the craft beer mobile community. And lastly, we want to decide what kind of reports should we be sharing internally, and should we be generating any type of reports externally, such as infographics, which are really great. And I want to take a little live look here shortly and just step back from the presentation. We can see here we have the craft beer community here online, where users can go, find out information, and sign up for the craft beer community when we set out here. On the back end here, from the community management platform, we made sure we went into the member profile and we set up the profiling information that we wanted to know and have be the makeup of this community, such as date of birth, where they're from, which of the following brewing companies are they familiar with. And this helps us in two ways. One, to decide who we're going to deploy the survey out to. Also, we can analyze this information along with the survey results. We did implement a points and reward strategy with the with the bottle openers. We manage in our point system here in the community management tool, and we can also manage our reward inventory. And we also have a robust catalog of gift cards, such as Walmart or Amazon rewards. And because we were launching the survey, we did take full advantage of the launch of our new badges to make sure that members could start to generate the criteria in order to unlock some of these fun badges. And lastly, before our deployment, why not take a look at our panel health and see if the segment of the see if those who we're getting ready to deploy our survey out to meets the community segment that we need, and especially as they come in. And we can easily go through this information, generate the different types of charts, and view the data in the way that we like to view it as well. And once we were ready, we headed right over to project here in our left navigation, click new invitation, selected a survey from our survey analytics account, deployed that out to our community, and the results begin to flow in. And we got some really exciting results. Let's take a look. So for the craft beer survey that we deployed through our craft beer community, we had 84% prefer their beer in bottles over cans, 22% buy and consume beer 2 to 3 times a week, and 33% of the consumers favor ale and 24% prefer lager. Who says this? Great question. Well, the responses from consumers were in 42 states in the United States, and over there on the right, you can see the top 10. We had 56% female and 44% male. 46% heard of their favorite beer brand through their friends and family. 14% have brewed their own beer, and 68% are interested in brewing lessons. And what's extremely interesting, Budweiser topped in the charts as both the best and the worst brand of beer. And looking at a multi-platform approach, 50% of responses from smartphones, 47% of responses from computers, and 3% of responses came from tablets. Well, great. Now that we're all excited about communities, I'm going to now turn it over to Esther again to share with you a couple of key bits of more information that's going to help you.
Thanks, John. So after reviewing all this information here, I know everyone's really excited about the idea of taking on an online community. And, you know, anytime you're getting started with something new and you're not familiar with it, there is an element of fear, in there. And we do want to let you know that, you don't have to be scared when you are taking something on. I mean, there are some high risks, but there are some high rewards as well. But at the same time, if you need some assistance, we do have community development experts that can assist you to get you down on the right path. And with these community development experts, you'll be able to get an overall view of your panel development needs and draw a community outline for you. It'll also be able to assist you with any community or panel logistical design, development and management, and also assist you with the recruitment or supplemental recruitment. So if you have a list of existing customers who want to be a part of the panel, but you need more, our community development experts can assist you with that. Also, if you need some assistance with developing an incentive strategy to ensure that your community members stay engaged with you, we can talk about those as well. And then setting up some participation rules to increase your response rates is key to building a healthy panel. So if you have people that are taking the survey more than one time, and skewing your results, obviously that's not a good thing. So being able to set out rules and regulations so everyone can follow and play fair, obviously, is going to be very helpful. So our community development experts can assist you in that as well. And also, if you want some assistance with helping with setting up a portal design, what is the look and feel you're looking for, we can also do that with you. So, regardless if you're looking to use one of our many wonderful templates in-house, or if you want to use your own website and have it integrated with the panel tool, we've got a lot of options for you that would work really, really well, and be able to even capture profiling information directly from your own proprietary website, and then have that be able to be saved in your community tools. So they'll also be able to help you set up and manage it either on their own, or you can have your experts do it for you. So the community development experts, they're not just there to help you get set up, but if you need some assistance in terms of being able to actually manage the panel, running the studies for you, the possibilities of what they can do for you are endless. So if it's just simply training and getting you started and helping you build your panel, to full-on management with projects along the way, depending on what your budget is for it, they can assist you with that as well. So it's definitely something worth taking advantage of. And 8, the experts can handle, the end-to-end. And also, if you're interested, they can help sell your community to other members if they need, so if that's necessary. So that's something a lot of people don't think about, but it is out there, and the opportunity is out there. So if you have a database of people and you'd like to share that, and these people are interested in doing studies and all sorts of stuff, then you can actually go in and broker these people and sell them to other firms that might need access to the type of people, and you can make some additional revenue that way. And so if you want to do that yourself, that's great, but if you're not used to it and you'd like to have someone broker that for you, we also have that available here at Survey Analytics. Next slide, please. So here are some basic questions that come up when we introduce people to the community development experts. The first question is, what are the general steps or phases that you would roll out with people looking to build their own in-house community? So the first thing is that they would select a software platform or a community provider, such as Survey Analytics. You can click next. Second thing would be to determine if they have to recruit or if to start with a list. So here's an example of a list of people. It would be kind of pretty awesome if we had Bill Gates as part of someone on our list that we can, pick his brain about, all sorts of stuff. But if you have a list, or if you need to start recruiting, we can help determine where is your starting point when launching your own community. Next slide. Third one is, what sort of incentive methods are going to work best for this audience? So, for some people, cash money is going to be the thing that speaks the loudest. For others, it might be, Sierra Nevada beer openers on their iPhones. For other people, we don't know what that is, and so you got to look into your company and find out, what are the things people are going to get excited about and want to give feedback in order to get an incentive, and also, how many points do they need in order to get to that incentive. If you're not sure about that, we can help you, and our community development experts can help you with that. The next one would be frequency of use. So you want to determine your interactive strategy. This is something that John mentioned earlier, and again, it is very important because you don't want to over survey people, or you don't want to over interact with them, but at the same time, you don't want to under interact with them as well, because if they don't see the value of being part of your community, guess what? They're not even going to care. If you send them an email 4 months later after the first thing and they get nothing from you, then they're not going to want to give you some feedback. So you got to find that really good balance, and our community development experts can help you with that, especially looking at the different industries that you're in. The last one is, the type of communication or engagement your strategies you're looking. So whether you want to deploy it either via computer, through email, or if you want to do mobile, um, through geo triggering, and or geolocation surveys. I mean, that's entirely up to you, and it depends on how much the respondent is willing to want to interact with you and in what manner. So based off of that, we'll be able to set up a strategy or engagement strategy that will continually maintain, and help grow your new online and mobile community. The second question, which is probably one of the bigger questions as well, is, how long is it going to take to build a community if you go through all these steps? Um, as they said to me, it does take about 1 month. It depends on the size and also the complexity. So if you're just looking for, craft beer drinkers, that are that purchase and consume beer 2 to 3 times a week, it might be a little bit easier versus if you're looking for, for the same example as I used earlier, nano brewers that only brew 200 barrels of Hefeweizen. It's going to be a lot harder to find those people, and building that community is going to be a little bit more difficult versus the latter. So, in general, you can get started pretty quickly, but again, it depends on, what kind of people you are looking to target for your own niche community. Next slide. So for everyone who's attending today or getting the slides today, we are offering some special pricing for our attendees. So for everyone who's attending, you'll be able to get a 5% discount on all mobile and panel or community products that we have here at Survey Analytics. And we also have a 15% off on all white label communities, and that's our January special. And what that means is that if you want to completely brand your community 100% the way you want, in terms of, the look and feel, as well as the URLs, whatever, what have you, you know, we'll be able to do that at a very good price. And I would definitely say that in panel, having a specific brand in your panel or your community that resonates with the people that you want to have join and be a part of is key to having a successful community. So make sure to mention this to your account manager or your sales rep to qualify for this. And we definitely will honor this, if you within the next month or so. So let's go ahead and open up the floor to any questions that came through here. Gina, are there any questions for John and I today?
Yes, there are actually quite a few. People have been asking throughout the presentation. And the first one I'm going to go to is from Roberto. It's kind of 3 questions in one, and I think John will be great to answer this, um, since he works with a lot of people that run their own panels and communities. And he wanted to ask, what would you recommend is the best length of surveys for a panel? Was his first question.
Well, length of survey really depends. There's a few variables that you can place within there. One thing that our community management tool does a good job of is that when you deploy out, you also let the user know ahead of time what the length of the survey is that they're going to be taking. So this really addresses that issue. They know if this particular survey is going to take 5 minutes or if it's going to take 20 minutes. Secondly, for the lengthy surveys that you do have, a good thing to make sure that your survey tool has is the ability to save and continue on the lengthy surveys. So I think it's okay if you have one large study or two that you deploy out through the year with a lot shorter ones. But you're setting the expectations for your community up front, and you're letting them know what they have ahead of them to be engaged in the community. I hope that helps.
Absolutely. And the next question from him is along the lines of how long does it take to gain responses from your panel? I'm sure this one varies, but you may be able to answer that better than me.
Oh yeah, response rates definitely fluctuate. But I think once you've managed and mature and you have an active and engaged community, your response rates um, are going to be extremely or fairly high. I think Esther did pull out a stat there that using a community tool that you've built up and you manage versus traditional research is going to be 2 times faster um, than what you've done elsewhere. And that stat actually comes from those who have used the community tool and survey analytics panel management tool specifically and have seen those results in doing a side-by-side comparison.
Okay, great. And then the last question is, what is the complexity of surveys that your tool can handle? Can it handle things such as conjoint?
Yes, 100%. We have an array of question types from your basic question types to your most advanced. And we do support conjoint analysis in the max diff and discrete choice. And so we can handle pretty much anything that's out there.
Okay, great. And let's see, our next question is from Marcy. I think Esther answered this in a previous slide, but we can just quickly review. How often do you recommend communicating with your community to keep them engaged?
That's a really good question, and it really depends on your community and how hungry are they to want to interact with you, or how much interaction you want to do with them. I would definitely say that healthy communities usually stay in touch with their respondents at least once a month. If it's a very highly interactive place, then doing small pulses even twice a month would work. Once every 2 weeks would be fine. But most of the things that I've seen, and maybe John can verify, is usually once a month is really good. And being able to set up an incentive that shows some immediate reward is going to keep them engaged and want to continue to interact with you. So if you've got, you know, a lot of research that you want to do and you need some answers quickly, then thinking about an incentive strategy to ensure that the engagement is high is going to be key in being able to um, reach the goal that you're looking for. So, again, engagement really just depends on, again, what is your research goals, and what is the frequency that people would prefer, and make it worth it for them to continue to interact with you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, just to slightly elaborate on that, I would say, yeah, keep it simple. Um, Take your research goals to set your bar, and then use the tool to make it successful from there. Take a look at your panel health using the PhD that we recently launched out, and see through your initial onset, through the first couple of quarters, how the engagement is. And since you have a tool and you have a community, feel free to reach out to them via a quick survey just to see how the engagement is going for them and if they feel like they're getting enough surveys or touch.
Okay, one moment. We have quite a few questions. And if we don't get to every single question today, I am noting them all down, and I will have Esther and John fill out in a document, their thorough answers, and I'll post it on our blog. So those will be available for the questions we do not get to. This was asked by quite a few attendees, and I think you can kind of both answer on this. What is the difference between a panel and community? I was aware that they were different methodologies. However, you guys are using them interchangeably.
That's a good question. John, did you want to answer that, or do you want me to answer that?
Oh, go for it, Esther.
So that is true. We did use it interchangeably. We did start off using the word, panel, because you're actually building your own, niche panel. However, we're working to change the word from panel to community instead. Essentially, it is the same thing, but we feel like the word community is really the right word to move forward with, especially in 2014. Because essentially that is who these people are. It is the community of respondents, it's your community of customers, and using the word community development is so much better than just a panel. A panel just makes a person look like a number, just an ID. But using a community, it's more than that. It's something that you have taken, I believe, that you have harnessed, and be proud of, and that you want to manage and take good care of them. So that's kind of how we're rebranding the community management tool. And so we did, kind of go, interchange them in a way. So I hope this clears up some of the confusion this may have caused. You may have you may have heard, the original market research panel definition would be, kind of the same thing. You'd go to a panel provider, buy some sample from them, and then then you're off and doing your research. But instead of doing that, we were thinking, now you, instead of using a sample provider or panel provider, building your own panel, and now we're taking it one step further and saying it's a community instead. And it really is a community. It's people that want to be a part of your studies. They want to do things, and we have that in-house as well. We run studies on our internal communities, and these are people that volunteer to be a part of it, and we incentivize them, and and we do studies, once a month with them, and we get really great results. It's a great way for us to test what we do, and showcase that to the world, especially in our education and webinars as well. So hopefully that helps with clarification.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, just to quickly just add on that topic. Yeah, there was some core differences over the years between panels and communities, and I would say our community tool, in which we used to call panel as well, handles both. You can do qualitative as well as you can do some quant through the community tool and using the online research. But then you also get you're also able to get the what and the why through a very effective recruiting strategy, retention plan, and as well as a survey strategy, and just how you're going to engage and work with the tool.
All right. And the next question that I have, let me find it. Sorry, my list is very long. How big of a panel can your tool handle?
Bring it on. We can do from small panels from one person, and we can do a million respondents in a community or more. So, and we currently handle both sizes today.
Okay, and then I had a couple of concerns. John, you may be able to clarify on this. How do we address privacy requirements and expectations of panelists?
Yeah, that is a good question, and one of the ways I initially showed back when I went on the live demonstration, for those who join and join the community, it is good on the site to go ahead and have a page with the privacy information and address and list those concerns there. Another thing is to have the users opt in before joining that. And in that opt-in email that they receive, you can list the privacy information as well.
All right, great. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the Q&A. I know there are a few questions we did not get to, but again, I've noted them and we will work on answering them throughout this afternoon. I will also be sending out a replay of this webinar as well as the slides from the presentation within the next hour or so. And I want to thank everyone again for attending, and thank you, Esther and John, for hosting and presenting this afternoon. And Esther, I got a couple comments that people love the dogs, just for your information. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us.